Hello again, football fans. This is Anthony coming at you today with Two Fat Guys Fantasy Football. Today we're looking at the next team in our series of off-season breakdown videos. Today is going to be the first team we're going to look at is going to be the New England Patriots. I will be gone tomorrow, so I am going to drop a doubleheader today. So the first team, though, is the New England Patriots. So let's just go ahead, jump right into it, see what the roster looked like at the end of the season. So the New England Patriots is a team you either kind of love or you kind of hate. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of middle ground with them anymore. Um, Living in Indianapolis, I do have to say that I have learned to hate them, although I really don't care. But this is a roster that was built to compete, but unfortunately just kind of struggled through the course of the season. The first thing that kind of jumps out at you is how solid the offensive line is all the way across the board. Trent Brown, as the starting left tackle, has been kind of a fixture. He's a solid veteran right now, and he is one of the top left tackles in the league. He's just always does the right things. He doesn't miss many blocks. He's just kind of overall pretty good. Cole Strange came in last year, was drafted as a rookie, and performed better than I think most expected him to. But he was really a bright spot for them in terms of drafting last year. So he came in and looked really good. The mainstay, the anchor, David Andrews, been there for a long time. Is team captain for a reason. One of the best centers in the league. So when you're starting kind of from left to right, and you've got that, and then Michael Onwenu, and then Isaiah Wynn, you've got the makings of a very strong offensive line. So they've even got some depth, some nice rotational guys in Marcus Cannon, Connor McDermott, Ferentz, all guys that can step in and do okay if needed. At the tight end room, a lot of money wrapped up in the tight end room with Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith for not a lot of production out of those two guys, and they're two big free agency signings a couple years ago. In the wide receiver room, um, a lot of retread kind of guys: Devontae Parker, Nelson Aguilar, both guys who I think we all expected more out of when they were originally drafted, and just kind of have never lived up to the potential that they offered. Um, their best wide receiver for the last couple of years has been Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers is more of a slot type receiver than anything else, but he can kind of do it all. He is a good wide receiver, um, and a guy that I liked a fair bit in fantasy last year. He was a target of mine in a lot of redraft leagues. The running back room, you've got a couple of guys, Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson. I really do like Damian Harris. I think he is the better of these two backs. He's not quite as good of a receiver as Ramondre Stevenson, but I think he is just a more talented back. Um, but unfortunately, he was hurt a little bit last year, and Ramondre Ray Stevenson really kind of took control of that backfield. Mac Jones has been kind of a lightning rod in his couple of seasons. As a rookie, he showed promise, and then last year he just kind of was up and down. And the team around him was kind of up and down. He was benched for Bailey Zappi, and now there's rumors that he's being whispered in trades. So I don't know what to think of him. I think he was a fine draft pick at the spot in the draft where they got him a couple years ago. They didn't overdraft him, and as like I said, as a rookie, he played pretty well and showed signs of being a good leader. Not the strongest arm. He doesn't do a lot of things great, but he is fairly accurate, and he he should be uh, a solid piece to build around if he can continue to develop. But I'm not sure. I really am not sure what the team intends to do with him going forward. So on offense, an offense that's built to compete. Uh, Another guy they drafted last year was Pierre Strong out of South Dakota State. Pierre Strong is a really unique kind of running back. I expect him to have more of a role this year than maybe some others do. I think he can push Ramondre Stevenson. I think he does a lot of the same things pretty well. Brings kind of some game breaking kind of speed to the position as well. So I'm interested to see what he does going forward. Another guy that they drafted last year was Tyquan Thornton. Tyquan Thornton brings a really unique mix of size and speed. He's very light at 6'2", 183 pounds, so he doesn't have kind of the heft that you'd expect him to bring at 6'2", but he does have some blazing speed. A pure deep threat in kind of every sense of the word. Um, he's a guy that unfortunately he was hurt a little bit last year, a little dinged up, so we didn't really get to see a whole lot of development from him. But he's a guy that I think we'll see a lot more of this year. On defense, the defensive side of the ball, um, kind of for me, the star of the show is Christian Barmore. I think this is the anchor piece that you're building around of. Only in his second year in the league, a true nose tackle, true kind of plug the hole, run stopping, eat up a double team kind of guy, and very good at it. He's a guy that showed a lot of promise coming out of Alabama, and has kind of continued to get better. The rest of the D line, we got Devon Godshaw, Dietrich Wise, Lawrence Guy. Um, these are all kind of solid veteran guys that do the job as they're expected to. They're kind of the Patriots way type players. So they kind of do your job guys that get the job done to an extent. Pass rusher Josh Uche and Matt Judon. Matt Judon has been one of the best pass rushers in the league over the last couple of years, and Uche has really started to develop a little bit on the other side. So these are two pieces that do help them out a lot. Jelani Tavai and Jawan Bentley are just two middle of the road middle linebackers. Um, they're guys that are good at a lot of things, but not great at any one thing. They did get a little bit of a career resurrection here in New England. They played better than I think I expected them to, but they're still just guys. We also have Mac Wilson and Raekwon McMillan. Raekwon McMillan is a guy who has a lot of potential, but it's just never panned out. He's just been kind of the same guy ever since he was drafted. He never got any better. He's just still the same guy. On the back end, Devin McCourty, probably a future Hall of Famer. We do have Julius Peppers, or I'm sorry, Jabril Peppers. Jabril Peppers is a guy that I do like a fair bit in the strong in the safety spot. I think they were maybe expecting McCourty to retire, and so they brought him in last year to learn the system. And sure enough, McCourty did retire. On the other side, we do have Kyle Duggar. Kyle Duggar was a bit of a surprise draft pick a few years ago when they took him out of little known Lenore Rhine College, and he has played extremely well as a pro. I didn't. He's a guy that I actually didn't scout very much and didn't know what to expect out of him, but I've been very pleasantly surprised with what I've seen out of him um, as a Patriot. So on the back end, they do have a nice core there. The secondary is not bad, not bad. Jonathan Jones kind of leads that room. He's a good, not great corner. We also have Jalen Mills, um, and then we also have Marcus Jones. So we've got a couple of Joneses here. Jones was a kid they drafted last year, and he stepped in and played pretty well for a rookie, about as well as you would have expected him to play. So Defense has some holes. It's a spot where they could definitely improve. Um, but all in all, this is a roster that was built to compete. And unfortunately, they did underwhelm last year. But let's take a look now and see what that roster has happened to it since the offseason began. So let's get in here. If my system would work a little quicker today. But looking at the roster as it looks today, the wide receiver room has changed quite a bit. We did lose Jacoby Myers. We did lose Nelson Aguilar. But we did sign Juju Smith-Schuster to replace that Kendrick Bourne. Juju Smith-Schuster is a good receiver. I don't have high hopes for him when it comes to fantasy production in the New England offense. Um, I think he regresses back a little bit from what he did last year in Kansas City. I think a lot of what we saw last year was a product of being in Kansas City, being with Mahomes, and in that offensive scheme. Um, so I'm not. He's not a guy that I'm targeting very highly, but I hope I'm wrong. I do hope I'm wrong. I expect Tyquan Thornton to get a lot more run this year than what we saw last year. So, and then we also have Lynn Bowden Jr. So we brought in some different pieces to maybe just kind of help and do different things, different guys for different things. It's still not a wide receiver room that I love. I'm probably not targeting any of these guys unless it's a late round dart throw. In the backfield, Damian Harris did depart in free agency, so Ramondre Stevenson is the guy. We did bring in James Robinson to kind of fulfill that Damian Harris power back kind of role, but I do expect Pierre Strong to get some run as well. The Patriots are also a team that I think has some interest in adding a guy in the draft, utilizing some of their maybe earlier round draft capital to get another running back. Um, so, yeah, we'll see. Quarterback is still Mac Jones. Bailey Zappi is a guy that apparently the coaching staff likes a lot there. So we'll have to end up seeing. There's also been some rumors about the Patriots potentially being interested in a quarterback this year. So I don't know what to think. I want to root for Mac Jones, but uh, I guess we'll have to wait and see. On the offensive line, we did lose Isaiah Wynn, but we replaced him with Riley Reef. Riley Reef at this stage of his career is just a kind of a replacement level player. He brings a veteran presence there. He's not great at any one thing anymore. Uh, he's just kind of a piece. One of their bigger free agent signings, they did trade away Jonnu Smith and his contract, but they did sign Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki is an interesting piece here. I think if I'm targeting anybody in this offense as a receiver, it's probably going to be Gesicki. Um, so Gesicki is a guy that is one of those kind of pure receiver type tight ends. He's going to be split out quite a bit. Um, he's good. He just was kind of underutilized in Miami last year with the new offense that McDaniel brought in. So he was expendable. They let him go, and I think I think he can resurrect his career a bit in New England. So that's an interesting addition and probably the spot that I'm looking to address in fantasy. On defense, as I mentioned before, McCourty did retire. Jabril Peppers is right there to take in that role. So our safety room is still in good spot. We also have Adrian Phillips there as well as a nice little chess piece. Linebacker core has not changed. The front seven is unchanged. It's the exact same front seven that we had before. Um, we did move Jalen Mills as more of a pure safety now. So our quarterback room is a spot that I think they could address. O line is a spot that I think they could address in the draft. Um, linebacker is a spot they could address. It all kind of depends on the value that's there when they're on the clock, or how aggressive they want to be in trading for some guys. Um, and I'm really not sure what their plans are at this point. So let's jump ahead and take a look at what some of those potential draft options might be for them. Like I said, I think O line is a spot they could look to address. They're not shy about doing that. D line, if the value is there, is a spot they could look at. And corner is another spot that I think they could look at, as well as wide receiver. I don't think they're out of the wide receiver market. It's not a room that I'm very impressed with. So it wouldn't surprise me if that was a spot that they wanted to address. But picking in the middle of the first round, we've got some interesting names. Wide receiver, I don't expect Smith and Jigba to be there, but Quentin Johnson could be, Jordan Addison could be, Zay Flowers, all could be. Um, so this is definitely a spot where they might look to address. Um, Corner, I think, is probably where the best bang for your buck is going to be. I like the idea of Joey Porter in this spot a lot for them. Um, he brings a lot of length to that room, something that they're kind of lacking. I expect at least one of these three guys to be gone by this point. So they may have their choice of a couple of guys here. Just a matter of what flavor of corner they like the best. Joey Porter kind of gives you the best length there. Devin Witherspoon is a guy who's very good in coverage and is probably the biggest hitter of the group. Can help you in run support as well. And then Christian Gonzalez is probably the best pure athlete out of those top three. Um, so that's a spot that they could look to go. On the end, Miles Murphy is a guy that I think would project pretty well for them as a 3-4 end. Yeah, he's a potential addition there. Tyree Wilson will be long gone for them. They could also look at maybe one of these undersized tackles like Elijah Cansey, slide him out to end. So that's another option. Um, they've got a lot of different ways they could go here. Middle linebacker, I don't know that the positional value is there at middle linebacker, but uh, who knows? Bill Belichick is known to just kind of take his guys. Um, so if one of these guys is his guy, then who knows? But let's take a look at Drew Sanders. He is a guy that I do kind of like quite a bit. The more that I've started to see of him recently, as I've dug into the linebackers a little bit more. Drew Sanders has great size for position at 6'5", 230. He has good speed, good enough speed for the position. And he played in the SEC, so he was exposed to some of the top offenses around and really kind of played well. He made all the plays you expected him to play. Good size, good speed, good strength. Not the biggest hitter, but doesn't miss a lot of tackles. If he can wrap you, he's pretty much got you. He's a guy that doesn't really help. He's good in coverage, not great in coverage. That's a spot that I think he can improve on in the NFL. So that's kind of my biggest knock on him is the lack of being able to drop in coverage. He's more of that run stopping kind of linebacker. But he's a guy that I do like quite a bit. Another guy that I've started to look at quite a bit is Noah Sewell out of Oregon. Again, good size for the position, 6'2", 245. Great speed for the position. Um, a little not quite as strong as you would want. Something that he could add to, and as we get into an NFL strength and conditioning program, another guy who's really good at a tackler. Like I said, if he can get onto you, he's not losing you. He brings some pass rush ability, and he's a little bit better overall in coverage than Drew Sanders. He's a guy that I think he's climbing up my draft board a little bit more. A guy I like quite a bit. So the linebackers, it's not necessarily a huge class, and positional value is always a question when it comes to off-ball linebacker. Lucas Van Ness is a name that could be slipping a little bit. He's a guy that might be in play for the Patriots there. Kind of fits that workmanship, you know, Patriot way kind of player. Um, they could take I they could do I don't know. I never want to project what Bill Belichick is going to do. He always seems to surprise me somehow. Um, in terms of the offensive lineman, Skoronski might be there. Um, we could look at Broderick Jones is another guy who might be there. Broderick Jones is kind of the best pure right tackle in this draft. I do like him a lot. Honestly, I think he'd be an improvement over Riley Reef. Reef would give you some good flexibility at the position if maybe he's not ready to go week one. But there's a lot of things that they could do kind of in the first round. So the Patriots are a team, like I said, not my favorite team on the planet, but I don't hate them either. Their roster is is good, but unfortunately, the rest of the rosters around them in the AFC East are just they're just better. So they're a team that's going to have to make some moves to really try to improve in order to compete for a playoff spot. And we'll see what we'll see what Belichick has up his sleeve. Um, we could be, well, I think we've seen the end of the dynasty now, and we could be witnessing the twilight of Belichick's career here in the next couple of years. So, but for now, that's going to do it for me. That's taking a look at the New England Patriots today. As always, drop a comment with any feedback, anything that you like or didn't like. I'd love to talk to you about it. As always, like and subscribe always helps out the channel. Trying to grow this a little bit. But for now, that's going to do it for me. I appreciate you as always, and we will talk to you next time.